Thank you for coming along and welcome. Hi everyone, and welcome to the launch event for the Prettyboys of Gangster, which is my first poetry collection, and I'm really proud of it. What I'm going to do today, I'm going to give you about 7 pieces from the book, and also talk a bit about the motivations behind the book and things like that. So let's get started. But first of all, thank you everybody for coming, and I really hope you enjoy my stream. So the book is very much about the connections that we try to form and how those connections change through time and through circumstance and through situation. A lot of the book focuses very much on the sort of positive aspects of that, the good moments, the positivity. There's also a section of the book that takes that box that we keep locked and chained up and in the sort of furthest, darkest corners of our mind, and essentially just takes that book and just pours it out onto the page. So what I'm going to do, the first part of the stream is going to be covering more that section, and as we go through we're going to take the mood right on up. So I think we should get going, and where better to start than with the first piece in the book, which is called Bones, and it's about a very troubled woman that I met on an Edinburgh night bus a couple of years ago. Hope you enjoy it. The remnants of her yellowed hair were too weak to hide her sinkhole cheeks from the breeze of our approaching night bus. Her 20 going on cold turkey bones, rising and falling with a moving mouth silenced by the idling of the engine. Her worn-to-often yellow tracksuit is almost two-dimensional in her stick limbs, and twig fingers fumble change against the hissing open door. The suburban 1 a.m. sky. Eyes falling pair by pair as they see her through the window, into phones with and without battery, writing real and fake messages. Don't talk to me. Possessions repositioned for maximum don't sit here. Please! Her jagged urgency bouncing off the stop bells and our shrinking comfort zones, ding, hitting her bones in waves as she stumbles at the empty priority seating right in front of me, her moving mouth silenced by the idling of our conscience. Does anyone have change for the bus? I really need to get home. Held in a hush by her helplessness and the feel of the fear on her breath, my heart in sync with the engine vibration, my hands not prepared for this situation. Please! Someone finally fumbles, and I do too, finding a pound and a penny, telling her sorry, it's all I have on me. Not sorry for the bones and the pity blue veins overpowering her punctured skin, or that it took two pleas for someone to break from a phone with or without battery, writing real and fake messages. Don't talk to me. Her moving mouth silenced by the scorn of the delayed as she rests her stretched and sagging forearms on the back of the seat in front of me. When the potholes swing us in unison, I see the bruising and her malnutrition, ding, and every pitfall of her spineless bellies on her bared yellow teeth. But my shrunken comfort zone doesn't think to ask her if she'll be okay. I need to pay you back. I need to. She shouts at me suddenly, my attempts at kindness bouncing off the half-unzipped caves where her neck should be, and every time I tell her she doesn't, she fumbles a crumpled 10 or 20 from her pocket to the now hissing open door her other benefactors quietly depart from. Ding, 3 stops, 1 for all the spinal bones pushing through her top as she saves them from the half-crushed cans on the floor. Eyes in phones, with and without battery, see her shove them all right at me, see me close my hands and cover my pockets as if they've seen this exact scene time and time and time again. I want to stop her, to calm her motion blur, but I cannot move anything in case I accidentally hit her. Ding, please! I say, keep your money. I want you to get home safely. I want to get home safely. And it calms her just enough. Just slightly. But my shrunken comfort zone still doesn't think to ask her if she'll be okay. or if she can eat those bones away, or if home is even a safe place to stay. Because I don't know what I would do if she told me. Ding, me this time. Telling myself that she'll be fine because my shrunken comfort zone wants this to stop when the bus does. Ding. She pulls her bones up by the stop bell. Ding. As if she's getting off too. Ding. And I don't know how to be alone with her in the streetlit stillness we've been cutting through. Ding, please, she says. Ding. Can I have a hug? I see the worst of myself when I assume the worst in her. But I try to wrap my shrunken comfort zone around her bones, tightly enough to mean something, and gently enough to protect me from her pain and protect her for a moment from the cracks we let her fall through. But my shrunken comfort zone still doesn't think to ask her if she'll be okay as I tell her again to get home safely and head alone to the dark breeze outside the hissing open door. My hair too meek to hide my hapless cheeks from the breeze of her departing night bus. Her 20 going on frail bones, falling and falling into moving mouths silenced by downward pairs of eyes, into phones with and without battery, writing real and fake messages. Don't talk to me. Possessions repositioned. For maximum. Don't sit here. Thank you. I really hope that, whoever she is okay and got home safe and got the help she needed. We have a lot of, these problems are kind of growing and growing, and we need to try and do better than I did and show that compassion where we can. Next piece I'm going to do, I'm going to open up that box I was telling you about. We're going to have it open for a few poems, then we're going to close it and then put it away for the rest of the set. And you might find out some things about me as well in these next few poems. So, a few years ago, I went through a phase of losing a lot of people that were close to me. I think I went to something like, it was either 5 or 6 funerals over the course of 3 years. And it was the sort of thing that never seemed to end. And what I really learnt from that is that me and, to be honest, most people, we're not very good at dealing with loss. And we're not very good at dealing with grief, even to the point where we can almost take it and then almost, attack ourselves with our own grief in that sense. And I just essentially wanted to open up about that and write about it. So, obviously if you're being quite sensitive to that at the moment, then be warned, this does contain a lot of references to it. This is called Time Machine. Sometimes the insides of my eyelids are a grounded time machine, tied to the present by burnt out wires hanging from the specific date I entered in the smouldering time selection circuit. And I can't correct the past until I properly fix it. Every time I try, I recover lots of you-specific media from shock-damaged parts of the internal memory. So if I could get back to you, I'd be able to correctly remaster the exact pitch of your laugh when we stood outside the local and said we'd meet up soon. But sometimes the insides of my eyelids are metal fatigued. I couldn't stop the saline lubricant from drinking out the ducts above the blinking warning lights and sparking a full system feedback loop on your birthday, which overloaded the gyro stabilizers to stop me testing my latest fix by flying to our renovated stamping ground. I could improve the date-specific durability by rerouting the time selection circuit through the full closure interface. But I'd need to get a part off you first. And the Fermi paradox failsafe would still work perfectly, ready to cloak my appearance at the time we said we'd meet up soon, no matter what power tools I take to its impenetrable shell. Sometimes the insides of my eyelids are unfixable, but I keep the annotated map of our universe by the thruster control, just in case I ever bodge my time machine and fly right back to our unrenovated stamping ground when we said we'd meet up soon. If only for a micro sleep, And if I had to rip the seat out to shed enough weight to compensate for the crackling wires and the smoking time selection circuit. Sometimes I think if I made it back, then I'd secretly tell you how I tried to fix the insides of my eyelids before the exact pitch of your laugh told me I didn't have to. Thank you. And what we're well, it's thirsty work, all this poetry reading. So what we're going to do now, we're going to keep that box wide open for one more poem. And again, this is something you might not know about me previously, because again, like with loss and grief, this is something a lot of us aren't very good at dealing with and talking about and resolving. So I was in a very highly toxic relationship a number of years ago, and I was getting over that at the same time all of these things happened, like I talked about in the previous poem. And you know, just we're not very good at dealing with that in the same way we're not very good at essentially anything strong emotion. I think we often find it hard to deal with, and I think it's something that's good to talk about. So if you're particularly sensitive to toxic relationships, abusive relationships, again, content warning for this next poem. This is called Rock City. I was desperate for a working time machine. A DeLorean, a phone booth, didn't matter. As long as it took me back to the Rock City dance floor during Here Comes the Rain, when she disappeared to the bathroom, so I could grab the arm of my younger self and implore him to leave the gig before she had his number. When he'd shrug me off and tell me to get lost, I'd tell him he would. Between affairs and the few minutes longer than it should have taken walks to the corner shop, till she'd walk half a step in front of him to keep an eye on his eyes. How they'd awkwardly arranged the table mats and TV remotes to cover up the worst of the gouges, and the checks on volume, current channel and previous channel when she arrived back home. I'd put myself between him and the music to tell him where she'd keep the stolen medication he'd wash and wash down the sink. How she'd threatened to stab his eyes while he was sleeping. And how he'd learned to be silent, because one hit back would have made him guilty of being more than the worst of the monster he deserved to be. But when he still wouldn't listen, I'd hurl my feeble fists at his eyes, ribs, anywhere, till I took a dive when the bouncers came, smiling wide as we were hauled away, knowing that being barred from Rock City would be a price I was prepared to pay. Thank you. What's that one I say? So yeah, what we're going to do now is, so I've just noticed I can see comments coming in, but it's not scrolling down, so I'm having to move down every time I see the comments. But thank you for everything that's coming in. I'm going to have a proper read of them afterwards, but it's really appreciate them coming in, and whoever all you 24 people are on the live stream, I really appreciate it. So what we're going to do now, this next poem is going to close that box, because we can heal ourselves through talking to the right people and getting things out of ourselves. We can heal ourselves, and when we heal, it's amazing what bright and lovely things and positive things open up, and what futures we create for ourselves. And so this is like a victory poem over all that, and we're closing the box, and after this it won't open again. This is called The Rain Outside My Window. I hear you hammering my window as hard as you can. Your intoxicating, saccharine cry trying to seduce me. You're trying to drown me. But I do not fear you. When I'm in here and you're out there, I'm deafeningly dry when I listen to you bounce off the boundary between us, desperately calling me, darkening your sky. I will never ignore you, or forgive you for the bludgeoned eyes and blackened ribs you'd inflict on me so easily, for tearing me from my hiding places through the shards of glass you made me swallow from every shattered window, for the cost of the quadruple glazing you tap on. See, I make it clear for you, but you never listen, not to me and not to anybody. I see through every single drop, and you will never seduce me again. Not that I'm the one who has control of the rain outside my window, the pain outside my soul. Thank you. And but yeah, when we heal ourselves, it's amazing what can happen. Because what happens after that, there's real chronology to these. What happens after that is your brain is ready to fall for someone again. And when that happens, you think to yourself, well, certainly when that happens to me anyway, the first thing I want to do is kind of start writing about it. And I often tell myself, I'm not going to be one of those people that writes those cliched, comparing thee to a summer's day poems that have been done a million times before. No, 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 I would never, ever write a poem like that. Absolutely not. This is called If You Were. I wanted to tell you, I thought you'd like to know, that if you were a Monday morning, where you'd sing a storm so strong to convince me to skive off work and watch bad movies with you all day long. That if you were a soft furnishing, well, you would be a blanket. For every time you smother me, I know I'll be all warm and comfy. Because if you were a pencil grading, well, you'd be about 4B. Because it's all so very softly that you make your mark on me. And if you were a paragraph of French, well, I wouldn't understand. But I'd listen to your melody and know that life was grand, because if you were a famous landmark, you'd be the Eiffel Tower. Because I really like it. So I hope you don't mind me telling you. I just wanted you to know that if you were a beer, you'd be a limited edition multi-warbening Trappist beer. Well, they only brew a few each year, so every sip is super special. And if you're an electronic device, well, you'd be a dictaphone, because I'd be one if I didn't, when I can't be by your side. And if you were a metal detector, well, you'd never need to start, because you've already found the keys to my softer side. And if you were an invention, you'd be the suitcase wheel, because you always lighten my mind no matter how weighed down you feel. And if you were a non-fiction book from the 1980s, you'd be the Usborne Spotter's Guide to Dinosaurs. For as long as you and I will live, I know you'll give me more and more, so let me tell you one more time, I just wanted you to know that if you were something that fell in the ocean, then your buoyancy force would be less than 9.8 newtons, for it's when I sink right into you that I find my equilibrium. And if you're an integral aspect of modern skyscraper design, then you would be the lift. Because you don't need the stairs from all those strangers. And if you were a part of your sneeze, well, you'd be that little nose twitch you do before a chew, because you would bring me to my knees if you lost the things that made you you. And if you were a condiment, you'd be a sugar sachet, because if I ate a lemon, you'd be there for my mouth. But most importantly of all, if you were a button on a telly remote, you'd be the big red one you see. Because no matter where you're taken to, you always stand by me. Thank you. Right. I've got 2 more poems for you in this stream, because Isabel, who's a wonderful editor and fly on the wall presser amazing, said about 25 minutes. So I took that to mean about 28. I hope that's okay. But let's just take a moment to think about the idea of a spotter's guide to dinosaurs while I take a sip of water. And I can see a few comments here, like, you're right, Dom, dinosaurs are amazing. So I want now to take us back to Rock City and take us back to around the turn of the century when I first started going there. And, you know, it was a place that was all mixed up in your favourite music and you knew in the big city, and it's friendships that are going to last a lifetime, and you're going to form a band and be a rock star, and it's just, you know, was a beautiful, magical place. And I went back there last year for the first time in about a decade, and this is called Dance Floor. These chords are ours. 8 Fs, 7 Gs and 3 A minors that make us punch our fevered hands above our frown lines and scream before beckoning our abandoned aspirations back from the scratches on the Rock City dance floor, where our bassline beats to forgotten bonds formed in our rites of 4/4 passage before our riffs became retro. Before our demo made us rock stars, with Liam on rhythm, me on lead, Dave on bass and vocals, we'd open for our heroes on their up the bracket tours, and Rock City would throng to our songs every Saturday. But our unwritten anthems are as unknown to the libertines as their riffs seem to be to the Spartan dance floor. A minor, D, G, E minor, A minor, D, G, E minor, and we're not allowed to dance on stage anymore. No one jumps around anymore. We don't need to wear our worst shoes anymore, and we don't have mates at the 0 deep bar or sneak us rounds for £1 anymore. Because the walls are a different shade of black, and I wish Dave was here. Because our chorus is coming. And we wrote down all our dreams on lost bits of paper, so we'd always remember how to hit every note when we strummed the air, and how to headbang like before we banged our heads against our bad attempts at melodies. Spilling beer on the bands we still emblazon on our hearts as we embrace in sweat-ridden anticipation of 8 more Fs, 7 more Gs and 3 more A minors. And we never really liked it anyway, so much preferred it the other way, yeah. This chorus is ours, and we have reclaimed our dance floor until our song is over, shouting out of tune friendships that saved us from tomorrows at future gig posters we're too yesterday to know, kissing every A minor, D, G and E minor we can grab from the mesh on the speaker cones, because no one will ever know this song on this dance floor like we do. And I wish Dave was here, because this moment is ours. So let's never come back. And let's never write a song again, but let's dance like we did when we fractured Dave's rib until the very last note of our outro. And let's sing like Pete Doherty and Carl Barat would have proper loved our demo, even though we never really liked it anyway. Thank you. Thank you for all the wonderful comments coming in as well. I'm going to really enjoy having a nice read through all them afterwards. I'm really glad that people seem to be enjoying this so much. And, you know, hopefully anyone who's got the book or will get the book will get the same from the rest of the poems as well. Just before I do my last piece, just want to say it's been a massive pleasure performing this live stream. It's just flown by. Just seen your comment, Dom. A copy of our old demo is available, but it is rubbish. But you're welcome to one. My book is release date today. It's beautiful to be a published writer, and Fly on the Wall are the best press you could ever want. If you're looking for a press, look no further. They're a wonderful press. Books available from their website, flyonthewallpoetry.co.uk. From my Big Cartel page, martingraypoet.bigcartel.com. It's also available at Waterstones and available as an ebook from the evil but necessary Amazon. So do feel free to grab a copy for, you know, it's birthday and Christmas season, and if you want to grab a coffee, I'd be... Coffee? Well, let's grab a coffee as well, but if you want to grab a copy, I'll be really chuffed. So the final bit, we need a bit of hope at the moment. And I think as long as we have hope and as long as we have compassion for each other, I think we'll be okay. It just doesn't feel like that sometimes. Because we could start a revolution, you and I. We could harness the hope we think will pass on by in every broken promise, via every streetlit side effect of late evenings in our endless daily grind. There's no amount of serotonin can fully hide the unquantifiable fear behind our eyes, the rawness in our rejections, the frustrations in our failures, the melancholy and the missed opportunity we never quite forget, the regret in what we allowed to drag us down. Or when our friends filled our conversations with fables from every corner of the earth, while you and I flailed with a dearth of worth, as if it was water in a broken glass. But we could start a revolution, you and I. We could make love to our front lines, turn them into a brightened sky, serenade our sorrow, borrow the best from each other's corneas. Know that nothing had been nonsensical as we filled each other's trenches, and that every piece of inner peace would be pure when we flushed away our finality. Then we could start a revolution, you and I. We could teach each other how to fly, to soar above our endless search for perfection, where our lungs harness the photosynthesis in our fingertips as they clutch our formerly unreachable sky, our needs nurtured by riches that no amount of money could ever provide, and we could learn to share our revolution, so that no one we care for would ever be thirsty, would ever be cold, and that maybe something we'd say or do would make them want to start a revolution too, because someone, somewhere, made me want to start a revolution with you, and we could bask inside our revolution. Always as young as the potential we saw in each other's imperfections that first time we met. Because we could start a revolution, you and I. We could inspire everyone with a warmth inside our eyes until every single child is born with a chance and every single soldier wants to lay down their arms. If everyone wanted peace, there'd be peace. And if everyone wanted to be more, we'd be more. If you wanted to start a revolution too, then we'd recycle hate into cushions for our falls with decent human rights for all. We'd show all the bigots love is not about nation, with an end to social deprivation. We'd find cures for every destructive disease by curing everyone that's bringing our world to its knees, even if we only see the beginning. You might think it's impossible, that I'm deluding myself dumb. But all we'd have to do is be the people we'd become. Because we could do anything if we gave it a try. We could start a revolution, you and I. Thank you. I'd say, wow, it's nearly half an hour. That has absolutely flown by. I'd say thank you to everyone who's come along to watch the stream, whether you've put in comments or not. You know, thank you. And I'm gonna go have a little glass, have a little drink, and really enjoy sitting and reading through them. And you know, thank you to everyone. This has